I was making six figures at my tech sales job working in Silicon Valley. I had a nice apartment, I was making a lot of money, I worked at some of the best companies in the entire world, but I felt trapped. And this is actually the dream life that I was sold when I was in university, right? Get a good job, make six figures, and just live life as you were told. I had never intended to live in San Francisco. I had never intended to work in tech. I just ended up there because of my surroundings. That's what everyone told me to do. But in reality, what I wanted to do was travel the world, make money online, and I wanted to live a life of freedom. So there was a point where I said enough was enough, and I decided to quit my job and just go full-time working for myself, even though I didn't have an income at all, and just moved to Thailand. And after years of trial and error and trying so many different business ideas out, I actually pulled it off. And there was ups and there were downs. There were times when I ran out of money and moved in with my parents and almost gave up and went back to the corporate machine. But fortunately, I made it out to the other side. I've been living in Vietnam for the last 5 years, building my online business. So what I want to do in this video is share with you how I accidentally made six figures online after I quit my 9-to-5, and show you step by step exactly how you can take these lessons and do it for yourself. Now, in the beginning of my journey, I actually tried to start my own business straight out of college. At the time, I had so much confidence in myself. I was thinking like, why would I even apply for a job if I can just work for myself, right? So because of that overconfidence, I didn't even apply to any jobs, and I just worked with one of my friends, and we were just like, okay, let's work on something. We tried a bunch of different ideas, and at the end, we actually made no money after a few months. And then so I reflected on what was going on. Why is it that I had so much confidence in myself, but I wasn't able to make money? And the problem was that I didn't know how to sell, okay? That's, at the end of the day, I was basically reading like 50 different books on business to try to figure out why I wasn't selling or why I wasn't able to make money. And I just came to that conclusion. In business, there's only two things. It's either you're providing a product and service or you're selling it. And I didn't have the latter, which was sales. So I was like, okay, what do I do from this point on? And one of my friends, or a couple of my friends, actually worked at a company called Oracle. And Oracle, I was like, I didn't even know what Oracle was. It was like this tech company. Like, I literally have never heard of it. I called a couple of my friends. I said like, okay, what are you doing at Oracle? And they're like, yo, we got this really sick sales program. They teach you everything and they pay you a base salary and commission on top. I was like, wow, that sounds really good to me. I want to get into sales. I applied for Oracle. That was the only job I applied to, and I got in. And my intention of getting into Oracle was that I wanted to learn how to sell. So as you can see from this little guy over here with the ball and chain, right? It's basically a prison, right? Golden handcuffs. I joined a company because I wanted the skill of selling so that one day I could accomplish my dream. But if I didn't have the skill of selling, then I would never be able to get here because I already tried it by myself. I joined this company, Oracle. And then within my first year, I tried really hard, learned a lot of things, and I basically made six figures just straight out of college. So my first year was actually really great, right? I finished in the top 1% of sales reps from, compared to everyone that joined at the same time. And then from there, I joined a YC-backed startup. YC means Y Combinator, right? So it's one of these like super high growth startups. And I wanted to learn how to not only sell in the corporate environment, but also I wanted to learn how to sell in the startup environment. I actually ran into problems here. And this is where the whole, stuck in a, jail basically comes into play. The only reason I got this job and put myself into this situation was because I wanted to learn how to sell. And the thing I realized when I started working at a startup was this. They were asking me to basically, take this new product that not a lot of people used, go out to random events, cold email people, and try to get meetings with them, even though they had no idea who I was and they had no idea who our company was. And then I would have to sell them on this product that they had no idea about in order to generate money for the company. So as I was doing that, I had the realization like, wait a minute, if I'm literally selling this new product nobody knows about and I'm kind of doing it by myself, why don't I just do it for myself? And so that's when the idea came about where I was like, okay, I learned enough in sales. I know how to generate leads. I know how to sell. I can get people on the phone. I can sell them and I can generate revenue. That's how I knew I was ready to start my own business. And then from here, I had enough savings thanks to, the commissions that I've made in sales, and I just quit. I literally just quit my job, took my savings, and I moved all the way to Thailand, only because one of my friends there was teaching English, and I was like, hey man, I'm trying to do this new thing. I'm trying to travel the world. Where should I go? And he was like, yo, you should come to Chiang Mai because I am here. So I was like, okay, it doesn't really matter where I go. So I just went straight to Chiang Mai. As I was doing this online business, right, I was trying to figure out what business model to go for. You know, I had savings, but like I didn't want to burn all my savings, so I couldn't do something that was like capital intensive. So I found this guy on the internet who was teaching people how to make money with webinars, right? So he was like, yeah, man, like you got to do webinars and you got to get people to watch these webinars and they're going to pay you money at the end. So I was sold. So I paid $1,000 for this course on how to make webinars. And I made a webinar actually teaching people how to do like lead generation and sales, which is what I did at my job, right? So I put the webinar together and they said I needed to run Facebook ads to get people to the webinar because I didn't have a following, literally zero following. So I ran the ads. I spent like $100 and then it failed. A couple people signed up but nobody bought anything. So I was like, this is crazy. I cannot risk spending hundreds or thousands of dollars hoping somebody will buy my course from a webinar. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of savings. So I just gave up on the idea because I didn't like the idea of having to run paid ads, especially when I was just starting out my entrepreneurial journey. So then I tried another idea, which was I took another course on Instagram, how to grow a following on Instagram doing these like theme pages. I tried it for like 2 weeks and then I got bored of it because I was like, I cannot see myself doing this. This is ridiculous, right? So it wasn't for me either. So at this point, I'm already like 6 months living in Thailand, right? And so I'm like, okay, I don't like traveling the world anymore. I'm not making any money. I just broke off my girlfriend at the time and I'm pretty sad. So I'm like, forget all this. I'm going to go back home to California to figure out like what I'm going to do next. So I packed my bags and moved back to California to move in with my parents to save money to figure out what the next step is. So I tried doing an app. I teamed up with my friends to make apps in the App Store to see if we can just make these random utility apps. We did get some people to buy, but I just didn't see myself making apps for the rest of my life. So then that was a bust as well. And then I tried to do an ice cream shop, a matcha ice cream shop. So I would go to different events. I have to rent out the space at each event. This like little like 10 by 10 tent. I would pay like $2,000 every event I would go to. Then I got to pay all this stuff for the ice cream and the staff and everything like that. And that was a bust too, because every time I would go to these events, I would sell thousands of dollars of ice cream, but then I would be in the negative because my cash flow management was horrible. I didn't know anything about managing this type of business. I'm not, I had no business doing an ice cream shop, right? I thought I was passionate about, the food industry. How cool would it be to have a cafe? But I realized this is a horrible business because the margins are terribly low and it takes a lot of money to start. So I actually lost like quite a bit of money doing that. So at this point, I'm at basically my last like $200, okay, in my bank account. I remember at the time, because I was so low on money and I didn't want to ask my parents for money, that I was selling my old iPhones that I had just from the past. I was selling my old jeans on eBay. I was selling my old like fixie bike. Like basically anything that I had that I can sell of somewhat value, I would be selling it just to not go below negative, right? Then I thought about, okay, like I tried all these different things. Nothing's really working and I'm losing money and I'm literally going to run out of money. And I had the thought of like, okay, if this continues on, I'm literally going to have to go back to a job. You might think, oh, whoa, 6-figure job, boo-hoo, right? But the thing is, I spent a whole year trying to figure this out. I basically spent my life savings buying myself time to figure it out. And it would be such a shame if I failed right here and just like have my tails between my legs and go back to get the job, right? So it's not about the money. It's more about I tried something and I didn't make it. So at this point, I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to make money this month or else I failed. And so I went actually back to the original idea of this. Because the thing that I realized was the problem I failed of all these things is because I had to learn a new skill. Each one of these things, I had to take an online course. I have to like basically start from zero. But with this webinar idea, okay, I had to learn how to do webinars, which I didn't know how to do. But I was basically just selling the skills I already learned at my job, which was sales. So I was like, okay, like what if I actually just focused on teaching people how to sell, how to do cold email, how to sell on the phone and things like that. And so what I did was I created a course about how to do cold emails and I put it on Udemy. And within that first month, I made my first $1,000. Then I made another course about sales skills because obviously when you get the meeting, you got to sell on the phone, right? So I made a course about that. I made another $1,000 and it's like, it was recurring every single month. And I just made course after course after course on Udemy to eventually once I got to 4K a month, I actually moved back to Vietnam and I started my entire life again. But this time, instead of being a broke backpacker, I was actually already making an income. And so my life was much better from there. And from there, with that momentum, I just continued to grow into more courses, building a YouTube channel, doing coaching. But it really all stems to one thing. And that is selling a skill that you already have, selling a skill that people are willing to pay money for because they're already paying you at your job, but it's just doing it on your own and teaching other people online. And with the power of the internet, you don't have to be trapped to going to an office if you don't want to, right? You can actually work from anywhere around the world, assuming you are actually good at what you do. And by the way, if you're somebody that's looking to quit your 9 to 5 and sell your skills online and build your personal brand, get more meetings and close more deals, you want to make sure to check out founderx.net. Link is in the description where you can learn more about the program and how we help founders like you. And this is also where you're going to be able to book a call directly with me to see how we can best help you. So link is in the description, and let's get back to the video. So now when I started doing this whole online business thing, right, there was not a lot of information available. And so I kind of just like did it and tried to figure it out. It took me a year to do that. What I want to do next is really show you step by step how you can take these lessons that I've learned over the past, I guess, like many years of doing online business and apply it to today. Because the game has changed, the algorithms have changed, YouTube has changed. So when you're starting from zero, you got to come in with a different strategy than what I did many years ago, right? So if I was starting from zero and I wanted to build an online business as quickly as possible using a personal brand and selling skills, this is what I would do. The first thing you need to do is this. Create an offer. So what exactly is an offer? An offer is basically a promise in terms of what will you do in exchange for money. For example, if you are an email marketer, you're going to write some of these marketing emails for money, right? It might be $1,000, $2,000. That is essentially your offer. If you're a coach, you're coaching somebody on how to achieve a certain result in a certain amount of time, and that is your offer, right? So you have to understand that you have to be able to sell something that people are willing to pay money for, okay? Very important. Because in the beginning, when you're a beginner, a lot of times people will focus on selling to broke people, right? I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's just some people, they're not going to spend money on investing into themselves, right? They're just not going to do it. They don't want to do it, right? And so you need to make sure that you're selling something that people will pay money for and they're willing to pay money for it. Right. For example, if somebody, for Founder X, the program that we teach, right? A lot of people want to go from employee to entrepreneur. They already make money at their jobs and they want to learn the skill of selling their own skills online. They have the money, they're willing to pay the money, and obviously they're going to be a good fit. So that's an example of an offer. Number 2, you need one form of lead generation. It doesn't matter which form it takes. It could be the form of a cold email. It could be a LinkedIn message. It could also be a YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, X, LinkedIn. It doesn't matter. The point is you need at least one channel in order to get meetings, right? So if you're doing YouTube, for example, right? All you would have to do is you create content around your offer. This is where actually most people get it wrong. Most people do YouTube in a very random way. They just like look at what's popular online, copy it, but they don't understand why they're copying it. They're just following trends. Maybe they get some views, but they make no money. Why is that? It's because they have nothing to sell. See, the thing is, when you have something to sell that's expensive, you want to go high ticket. And high ticket basically means, call it $2,000 to $5,000. Let's use that definition for this video. You want to sell something at that price point because if you're selling too low, you need too many views in order to make good money. But if you're selling something for, let's say, $3,000, well, if you're selling 3 people a month, that's $9,000. That's probably more than you would have made at your 9 to 5 anyways, right? So the offer is extremely important because you're able to get very little views, but if one person out of those 500 people watch, buy it, it makes it all worth it. So every video you put out, it's like you're doing it with the intention to attract your ideal customer. In this day and age, the way the algorithm has changed compared to, let's say, 5 years ago when I started on YouTube, is that now the algorithm is so good at recommending content to the right audience that if you're making business content for business people, YouTube will recommend your content to the right people. And then even if you have a small niche following, those guys are down to spend money on you because you are directly solving a problem that they cannot solve by themselves, and they're willing to spend money, right? Whatever lead generation method you choose, understand that's your goal. If you're doing cold email, which is just outreaching to somebody, it's the same thing. All you're doing is saying, hey man, like I saw that you had this problem. I was looking on your website. You mind if we have a chat over a call to see how I might be able to help? And if they say yes, you sell them on the phone, right? That's literally all it is. So what's step number 3? Logically, it's sales. Specifically in this day and age, you're doing video calls, right? So for me, I'm using Google Meets. You can use Zoom. It's all the same. And the thing is, you're working online, right? So, I'm in Vietnam. I'm selling to people all over the world. So you don't have to even meet them in person. It's all about the video calls. So from the video calls, what are you doing? You're basically selling them, right? And you're generating revenue. So if you look at these 3 simple steps, the only goal of everything that you're doing is actually to get the call, to get the sale. Every activity, every minute that you spend on your business, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing to get meetings and what are you doing to close? So if you're creating content, the whole goal of this content is to get a meeting. If you're sending a cold email or a LinkedIn message, you're not just networking. Your goal is to get the meeting so that you can actually sell them. And this is where people get confused. Like, business is not that difficult. It was difficult for me when I was starting out because I was trying out different ideas. I didn't understand the basic fundamentals of how things go. But at the end of the day, there's only three things. Have an offer people want to buy, find a way to get a meeting, sell them on the phone, and that is it. And that's really the fastest way to build a six-figure business, right? So if you think about it from a mathematical standpoint, right? Let's say you're charging $3,000 and you want to make six figures, right? Well, six figures is like 8K a month, basically, times 12, right? That's 100K. So if you're getting 3 sales a month, you're making $9,000, right? So out of these 3 people, how does it work? Well, if you're doing, let's say, YouTube videos, right? So let's say you make 1 YouTube video and then you're getting, let's say, like 3,000 views. Okay. Out of those 3,000 people, maybe, like 5 people take a meeting with you. Okay. And out of those 5 people, perhaps 1 person buys. If 1 person buys at $3,000, that's going to be $3,000 of revenue for your business. Each video you make, assuming you're getting 3,000 views for a highly target audience for businesses and that you are selling an offer that people actually want, could you actually make $3,000 per post? It's not impossible. And it's not that crazy either. You don't need that many customers. You don't need thousands of people to know who you are. You only need a couple people to make this all worth it, right? If you extrapolate this over, let's say, a year, if you're getting 3 clients per month times 12, you're realistically only selling 36 people per year. Now, when you break down the math in that way, does that sound like a reasonable goal for you? Yeah, because that's less than 1 person per week. And so, with this kind of business, I really love it because all you're doing is 3 things. You're making offers, you're making content, or you're doing outbound and you're selling. So for these kind of service business, right, one of the best ways to do is actually to build your personal brand. Because we are in the age where everybody has a personal brand, right? If you're a founder, you got a personal brand. If you're an employee at a company, you also have a personal brand. Literally everybody has a personal brand these days because it's one of the best ways to actually generate leads and interest for your services. So how I see this model moving forward is like this. When you're a personal brand, you're basically a media company, right? So when I look at myself, I don't see myself as a coaching business. I don't see myself as a consulting business. I see myself as a media business. Because the thing is, whatever I'm teaching or whatever course I have or whatever coaching I have, literally anybody can copy me, right? They can literally buy my course, copy everything to the T, copy all my worksheets and templates and all that stuff, and then create their own course, right? If everybody has the same information, what makes you different from another person? And the moment somebody comes out with something new, everyone's going to copy them in a month anyways, right? So what's the difference between this guy and somebody else? It's the media side. It's the brand. It's people trusting you. It's people watching your content, falling in love with it, feeling like, oh my God, this changed my life. So no matter what this person puts out, I'm going to buy it because I support them. So now it's all about brand. Hence, personal brand. That's the point. It's like a Nike sneaker. You don't buy a sneaker because of, there's like athletic performance and all that kind of stuff, right? But at the end of the day, every sneaker like literally costs like $5 to $7 to make in a factory, but you buy the check. You buy the 3 stripes, you're buying the brand. So that's the differentiator moving forward when commodity or information becomes commoditized. You can find the same information on ChatGPT, but it just depends on if you want to work with that person. And from there, as you build your business, what's going to happen is you're going to have content, right? People are going to create content teams for organic content. You're going to have sales. So once you get the content, you got to sell people into the program. And number 3, you got to have fulfillment, which is whatever service you're offering, whether it's usually it's a course, it's coaching, could be consulting, right? It could be community, right? School is very popular, people creating communities. And so this is pretty much how the modern day personal brand works. It's content, sales, and fulfillment. If you are looking to build your own personal brand, these are the steps. And if you're doing anything outside of these things, you're wasting your time. All right. So just be honest with you. This is how you make the maximum amount of money with the least amount of effort. And by the way, if you're someone that's looking to quit your 9-to-5 and use your skills to build a business online and build your personal brand, you want to make sure to check out Founder X, the link is in the description, where I'm going to show you everything you need to know to build a profitable personal brand so that you can work from anywhere you want, anytime you want, with whoever you want. So by going to our website, you're going to be able to learn more about the program, book a call with me personally, and I'll guide you through exactly how the program works and how we can make it work for you to build the business of your dreams.